Well, those were three really tough, hard-fought games. All three games were like one-run games going into the eighth or ninth inning. So they were very competitive, hard-fought games, and we came up short in all three of them. I know how much it means to South Carolina people, South Carolina fans, and feel bad that we didn't come through for them. But there's nothing we can do about it at this point, except for keep improving and working on the things we need to work on. There were so many bright spots this weekend, particularly Jake McCoy and Dylan Eskew, the starting pitching performances we got out of them, the relief performance by Brandon Stone. There's a lot to be hopeful for, but obviously we're going to need to hit more than we hit this weekend. Got to, give some support to the pitchers. You don't want them thinking that any one little mistake is going to cost them the ball game. But they've been up to the occasion, pitched great, and it gives me optimism for the future. But we just got to figure out the hitting and get a little more thump there and into the lineup and coach them up a little bit better. And we got a lot of games left.
Question for Dylan.
Dylan, just coming off an injury, how'd you feel physically out there going through 6 innings?
Yeah, it was no problem today. Last week it kind of started in catch play, and once we got through catch play and pregame bullpen, 1, 2, 3, 4th inning, it was kind of the sits where it was getting tight on me last week. So just keeping it hot, getting a hot pack on it, massaging on it, and just kept it loose all game.
Dylan, when the offense is having kind of a stretch of struggling, how do the pitchers, talk to those guys and approach them? Is it just, constant, positive reinforcement? Just how do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, none of us like to think we're hitters, so we kind of try and stay out of their way. And we're fully confident in them. We had to face them all fall, and they were swinging it well in the fall and early preseason. So I think we're as big of fans of them as anyone else, and we haven't lost faith in them, and I hope no one else has either.
Dylan, a lot of you guys said that, rivalry aside, that this would be a good test for you guys, going into SEC play. What do you think you learned from this game or for them this series?
Yeah, I think like Coach said, all 3 games were close and competitive games, and I think they're number 6 in the nation. So if our fans or our players didn't believe we were one of the best teams in the country before, they can now because we went toe-to-toe with one of the better teams in the country all weekend.
Any other questions for Dylan? Okay, we'll let him go. Thank you. Questions for Coach Mainieri? We'll start with David.
Paul, you mentioned you got to look for a little more thump in the lineup, but when it's 3 games like that, you know what these guys have done through the first 9 games. Is it just drastic reshuffling, just kind of keep going out what you do? How do you approach the next game?
Well, I thought it hurt us not having Kennedy in the lineup and also Talmadge. I haven't mentioned to you about Talmadge's injury. I don't know if you can remember back this far, but in the 2nd inning of the first game of the year, there was a ball in the dirt, and he actually suffered a fracture in his thumb. So he got a pretty significant break in his right thumb. So he's shown so much courage, playing through it, and he's been able to throw the ball okay. It's really bothered him the most just swinging the bat. And then what happened was yesterday's game when Kennedy threw the base runner out at the plate, even though he was tagging the runner with his left hand, the glove hand, of course, somehow his right hand got in there, and the runner whacked into his right hand and really created a lot of discomfort and pain in his hand yesterday. So I didn't even know that his hand was hurting that bad yesterday during the game. He never said anything, but he obviously wasn't swinging the bat as well as he could. I think he struck out 3 times yesterday, but he couldn't play today. It was so sore, and I don't know what the answer there is. He wants to play through it, and hopefully it'll heal as time goes on, and we'll see. He's going to get it x-rayed again tomorrow to make sure that the break isn't any worse than it's been. But we didn't even know about it being broken until probably after the 7th or 8th game of the year. He never said anything. I knew his hand was hurting, but nobody had any inkling that he had a fracture in his thumb. And then Kennedy, what happened was on Friday night's game when he scored on Talmadge's double and he slid head first into home plate, he hit his left shoulder really hard onto the ground. And we don't really know what the significance of it is. It's just been real sore. Probably shouldn't have played him yesterday, but he really wanted to play. But he wasn't swinging the bat the way that he could yesterday either. And yeah, obviously both he and Talmadge had those critical at-bats in the first inning of the game yesterday, but they just weren't physically capable of swinging the way that they can. And then today, Kennedy didn't even take batting practice. And so we had to keep him out. So, yeah, we're a little beat up when, 2 of your main hitters are out or not being able to play at full strength. It's going to have an impact on you, obviously. We don't have that kind of depth of hitters where you lose 2 guys like that and you just say, okay, next man up. Guys are trying, but we're going to have to evaluate it, David, and just kind of see what would be the best thing. I'll huddle up with Monty and try to come up with the best possible solution.
You mentioned the impact on the fan base being swept by Clemson. And what is a message that maybe you might have about no time to panic? A lot of the season is left and, how you guys might be able to recover from a weekend like this.
Well, I told our players after the game that there's not anything we can do about the Clemson series. It's in the books. You can't go back and replay them all. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of noise out there in the public, and disappointed about, what happened this weekend, but I feel bad about it. Believe me, I know how much it means to everybody. Our kids did the best they could. And, I credit Clemson. They came through with some clutch hits. They made some big pitches against us. And, when the games were on the line, I told you this from the get-go, your season is defined by how you do in the close ball games. And this weekend, we didn't come through in the close games. When you think about it, every game was in the balance going into the 8th or 9th inning. And we just didn't do what it took, and Clemson did. And so, again, I can sit up here and tell you how badly I feel for South Carolina people that care so much about what happens against Clemson. I feel awful. It matters to me, believe me, as much as it matters to anybody else. And all I can tell you is we're just going to keep working hard every day to improve. And I told our team that one thing that has been kind of a hallmark of my teams through the years is that we may have some struggles early, but eventually we hit a stride and start improving. And I want us to be a better team in April and May than we are in February and March. And, we're going to analyze every aspect of it. Hopefully Kennedy will be back, and hopefully Talmadge can fight through that. And hopefully we'll keep pitching well and playing good defense and doing the things that help us win games. And hopefully we're just going to keep getting better and better and better as the year goes on. I hope they don't lose faith, because of a short-term failure like this, because, I know it matters to our kids. Obviously it matters to our staff. And we'll show up Tuesday and we'll try to right the ship and keep working hard.
With the catching situation, Max struggled back the other day. You don't know what the situation is with Talmadge. How do you kind of evaluate that position right now after being concerned about it going into the year and maybe an injury?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about it. Obviously we didn't play well behind home plate tonight, pass balls and not blocking a ball with a runner on third, throwing a guy out on a pitch out, those are all things that are little things that add up, if you don't do them. I was going to catch Bakes, but then when Kennedy couldn't play, I wanted to try to keep both their bats in it. Coffer's been swinging the bat pretty good, and although tonight he didn't, he had a couple of called third strikes, but I wanted to DH Coffer and catch Bakes, but then when Kennedy couldn't play, I put Bakes in the outfield. He's played a little bit of outfield before, and I thought he might provide a spark with the bat. But when that all happened, I just decided to put Wood in against the left-hander and see what he could do. He had the one big hit, but a couple other not so great at bats.
Jack, Cole, and Jordan.
Paul, you said after the midweek game over the week that the pitching you guys were going to be facing was only going to get tougher, and the 14 runs you guys had scored in the previous 2 games didn't mean you guys were going to necessarily have it again this weekend. Do you feel like just in general with the offensive struggles, it's like a combination of different things, like the mental, the pitching being really good, and just the struggles at the plate?
Well, you are who you are, Jack. I mean, the guys are trying the best that they can, and there's guys struggling, I don't mean to single players out, but guys that had really good falls and even good preseasons have struggled thus far during the spring. And, hitting a baseball is the most difficult thing to do in sports. We all know that. And all we can do is just keep working hard with them and encouraging them. I can tell you this, I've never seen a coach work any harder with players than Monty Lee does with our hitters. So it's not for a lack of effort. Everybody's working extremely hard. And, we're going to analyze it all. 15 strikeouts in one game is just, you're not going to win a lot of games doing that. And at one point, I think we had 2 hits, into the 8th inning. I mean, it's just, you're not going to win a lot of games with that kind of production. So we've got to find it somehow, somewhere. And that's all I can tell you right now, Jack. I mean, right now, sitting here in front of you, I don't have the answer of what the magic wand is to have our guys hit better, but we're going to analyze everything and keep working.
Coach, when you go back and look at the games on film, the runners left on base, is that something that you think will stand out to you? And if so, how do you plan to fix that going forward?
Well, it's the nature of the game. The teams, it's funny that in today's modern era of baseball, everybody says on-base percentage is much more important than RBIs. Well, that last I checked, the real number that matters on the scoreboard is how many runs you scored compared to the other team. So yeah, we didn't get many clutch hits this whole weekend. I mean, neither did Clemson really. I mean, I think the first night they had 3 clutch hits and we had 1. It was a difference in the ball game. Yesterday we didn't have any clutch hits. We had a solo home run, but they had, they didn't have much either until the center fielder got the hit in the late innings there, the left center, the 2-run inning off of McCoy in the 6th inning. And then tonight, really until the very end when they got a few good hits in clutch situations, and we had a couple. So it's just, I emphasize it. We all emphasize it, but it takes something special out of a player to rise up in those situations. Petrie's doing it, and he came through with a big hit. Wood has come through with some big hits. We just got to get more guys doing it. That's all. We're just going to keep emphasizing it. I'm going to put the pressure on the players to recognize the situation when they need to rise up. But it's the difference in teams, and it's the difference between winning and losing is who performs in the clutch. You give some credit to the other team's pitching, but you can't give too much credit. I mean, you're going to face good pitching. You just got to rise up and do it. So, it's one of those things in the sport of baseball that's hard to figure sometimes, But we do need to get more base runners too. I don't know how many base runners we had tonight, but it didn't seem like we had a lot.
I know you said you don't have the answers right now offensively, but you did say at the beginning that you saw a lot of positives and a lot of optimism for you going forward. Did you see anything positive offensively for y'all to build upon going forward?
Yeah, Ethan Petrie. Woyda came through with a big hit there. Trying to remember any other positives about tonight, about the offense.
For the weekend as a whole.
Yeah, well, not really. Yeah, Nathan Hall. I mean, Nathan's did some good things again. You got to get more than a third of your lineup performing, and I mean, there's a lot of offers on that box score. You know, there has been all weekend. So we just got to get more out of each guy. We got to get runners on base. We got to get them over, and then we got to figure out a way to get them in too. John, it's one of those things. It's just it can be fleeting, you know, and then all of a sudden it starts to click, and hopefully we have the ability to do it. You know, I mean, I don't. All we can do is put the guys out there we think are the best guys and encourage them, and hopefully they'll come through more frequently than they have been this weekend.
The losses aside, what'd you think of the 3 games, 3 nights, 3 different cities?
Yeah, I thought it was great. What a great, neat setup. People in Greenville were awesome. You know, beautiful ballpark. You know, raucous crowd. You know, Clemson's not all that much fun to go to for an opposing team, but it was awesome to see the spirit of their school and the way their fans, you know, rallied behind their team. And I felt wonderful tonight. You know, I was really concerned whether or not people would come out tonight after us losing the first 2 games and the temperatures dropping, but they showed up. It was awesome. You know, I just wish we would have rewarded them with a win. But we're not going to give up. I can just assure everybody, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep working. You know, you're going to lose baseball games during the season. It just hurts a little bit more when you lose them to Clemson, obviously. So, but we can't do anything about it right now. But the whole weekend, I can see why the rivalry is so cool and what everybody told me about. And I love the idea of the 3 different ballparks. And, you know, I'm already looking forward to next year.
The 2 changes to the left side of your infield, was it more about wanting to see what Carrion and Tippett could do, or was it more about, you know, what Kazmer and Scobie haven't been able to do lately?
A little of both. Yeah, a little of both. And, you know, I wasn't going to, you know, I pick out guys, but, you know, Kazmar is kind of baffling us right now because he was awesome all fall and he was great in the preseason. Right now he's just in a rut, really bad rut. And I knew we were facing a tough left-handed pitcher. So I figured, you know, Tippett's been working hard. Tippett has some sneaky power and he could run into one quickly too. You know, he came up one time with a couple guys on base, and earlier in the game, you know, I had visions of him connecting, and all of a sudden we got 3 runs on the board, but it didn't happen. As far as Scobie goes, you know, he's freshman and he does some good things, and then he has, you know, some moments that, you know, that he's not too good at, and he's been struggling with some off-speed pitches, and you know, I just thought Jordan Carrion's been working so hard. He's been doing some really good things, and I just thought those kids deserved a chance to see if they could spark us tonight. And you know, I thought Jordan Carrion had some good at bats. You know, he hit that one ball really hard. I wish he had Scobie's strength. It would have carried over the fence, but he hit it about as good as he could. Played good defense. You know, Tippett played good defense. So we didn't really sacrifice anything defensively at either position, but that's why a little bit of both. All right.